It's a play fake. Allen, he's got a wide open lane and a Buffalo touchdown.
But Logano is going to win the dirt race at Bristol.
All right, let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Sports Commute. I'm Dan, as always, joined by Matt. We got a special guest for you guys today. I'm sure you heard about him before, seen him on the television. We got stand-up comedian Dean Blandino. How you doing today?
Good. What's up, guys?
Not much.
Not much.
All right. So before we get into what we want to talk about, the reason I called you a stand-up comedian is because on Wikipedia, it says that you did try stand-up in 2005. I wanted to ask you about that and just see, how it went for you.
Yeah, I tried stand-up. I had a really good friend of mine that was doing it and said, you should try it out. And I was like, no. And finally I was like, okay, screw it, I'll do it. And I loved it. It was a lot fun. Definitely the scariest thing that I've ever done, and it's definitely intimidating, but it really helped me in the future for my career, because picking up in front of coaches or players or NFL owners or it's definitely the public speaking part. The part is stand up.
All right,
That's fair. So 2021 seasons, it's almost over, but what are some of your favorite moments that you've had this season?
Well, I think this year just in general, having back in the stadiums has been so cool, and I think we all kind of forgot last year, being happy to get the games in, and you have the crowd and having all the fans there and how important that is.
Right.
So sorry to interrupt you, but it is a little kind of buggy. So do you mind if we just hang up and give you a regular phone call so that way we avoid all this? All right. Call you in just a second. You just keep running.
Why?
Because you don't have to stop it. Don't
Well,
worry.
I gotta edit then. I don't want to edit.
No, it's fine. You just upload this full. You don't have to match up the audio.
You're right, but I have to edit it and cut this shit out.
Why?
Because we're stopped.
So we're stopped on the podcast. Doesn't mean you can add it to the YouTube.
I shouldn't save it as a content. Just because fuck it.
Well, I should have, but
It's fun. You called the wrong number?
no. Oh, that's funny.
New York.
Yeah, it's a New York number, but he's in LA.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Our questions were so bad that he doesn't want to.
God damn it!
Oh, no, something probably happened.
Fuck. It was one. Fuck. God damn it. Dean, son of a bitch. Did he get that across? Did he hear you? I hope so.
Yeah, I made sure.
Fucking damn
I
it.
just sent him a text, said everything right. We can take a break if you need. I did get the number right. Yeah.
Did you? Like he's wearing a Rams hat. I'm like, huh?
Well, he's not
I thought he was from Cali or something. Oh no, I know he's not from Cali. I thought he lives in Cali.
He does. He just has a New York number.
He's from New York.
Well, nope. Just had to take the phone off. Do not disturb. Okay. Oh. No. I don't want to FaceTime.
Phone call.
Yeah, I guess he had it on Do Not Disturb.
Good man.
Hey.
All right, we
There you go.
got you.
That's a bit better.
All right. So We actually did not hear anything you said about your favorite moment. It was very, very cutting in.
Yeah, it started to break up on my end too.
All right, so, well, just to repeat what Matt said, what is your favorite moment from this year?
Sure. Well, I think in general, it's having the fans back, and 2020 was such a crazy year and empty stadiums, so that you don't realize how much you miss the fans. But I think my favorite moment, I'm kind of an honorary Lions fan, and I've been just talking to Lions fans on social media and being a part of the Lions podcast. And so I think my favorite moment was the game-winning touchdown, gone to St. John to beat the Vikings at the end of the game. That was probably my favorite.
That's a good one.
So, I do have a question from one of our friends, Corbin, here. He was wondering if you have the insight to know if there will be any, new rules regarding replay or any new personal fouls or anything like that, any updates to old rules that could happen in potentially the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, well, I think with replay, I think we're going to see more, more things that replay can get involved in. This year, they added, they're calling it a video assist, where the replay official upstairs can add real-time information on different things, more objective things, like could be the ball hitting the ground or receiver's foot out of bounds, things like that. But I think we're going to see whether it was, there was a call in the game, a missed call in the Monday night game with, the Rams and Cardinals, where there was a face mask with Matthew Stafford that wasn't called. And go back to Thursday night, Steelers Vikings. There was a hit on a defensive receiver that was called, that wasn't a foul. And I think we're going to see possibly those types of things, safety-related fouls, become reviewable. And I think that's probably where the league is headed in the next couple of years.
All right.
I'm actually not surprised about that. I mean, besides the 2021 season, what are some of the other moments that you've liked? You can point that out for any time throughout your career.
One that sticks out for me, it's funny, it was the Super Bowl. It was the Patriots and the Giants. When the Patriots were undefeated, and the Giants were big underdogs, and I was in the replay booth for that game. And normally, everybody in my family knows, hey, I'm working, don't call me unless it's an emergency. And the David Tyree, the helmet catch had just happened, and we were looking at it and confirming that it was a catch. And my phone, had it on vibrate, but I could see it, was ringing it with my mom. And I just, I ignored it. She knows I'm at the Super Bowl. And then it rang again, and I was like, oh, no, is this an emergency? So I pick up the phone, I'm like, Mom, what, I'm working? She goes, did you just see that catch? I was like, okay, Mom, I got to go. Hey, I got a game to finish here. I'll talk to you after the game. So, but like moments like that, I feel pretty blessed to be, to have been a part of, whether it's that play, whether it was the Patriots, the Malcolm Butler interception against the Seahawks at the end of the Super Bowl to kind of win that game. And so many other really cool moments, to be a part of, and just feel really blessed to have been there.
Fair enough.
So I did want to talk about the new taunting rule and how it's been very strict this year from what I've seen. Not a lot as it would have been perceived in previous years. Sort of just why they've gotten, why do you know why the NFL has tightened that up, or is that?
Yeah, the rule didn't change. It was more of a, they went to we call it a point of emphasis, so it's going to be more strictly enforced. And it really came from a lot of the coaches. League always looks at, when they go into the off season and rules, they look at player safety, they look at sportsmanship, and they look at like competitive equity, so the fairness of the rules and kind of that balance between offense and defense. They always look at those things, and I think the coaches saw a kind of a lack or kind of a decline in sportsmanship, and they wanted to clean that up. The coaches subcommittee, which is a group of coaches that works with the competition committee, they brought this to the competition committee, and it was a lot of the in-your-face stuff, guys getting in each other's, getting in an opponent's face, whether it was something, a verbal thing or it could be a physical thing. And they wanted to clean it up, and so they made it a point of emphasis. And I think that's what we've seen throughout the most of the season. The officials have been very strict. If you get up in somebody's face, even if it's quick, it's been a foul. Whereas in the past, the officials had more discretion. It had to be something more prolonged. This year, it's been a very quick. Hey, you get up in somebody's face, it's going to be a foul, and. I don't think we've seen as much the last couple of weeks, and that usually tends to happen as the players adjust and they understand where the line is. And they, especially as we get later in the season, and playoff berths are at stake. You realize that you can't put your team in a position where you're going to give up 15 yards in a situation like that.
Well, do you think it's a little excessive? Like, this is your opinion now, not the opinion of the leagues. Like, personally, like the Cassius Marsh play to me, I don't know, it seemed a little too much. And then the bump with I don't know, I can't remember who the official was there.
Tony Peretti, yeah. I thought the Marsh play was a little bit too far. I thought, for me, I always liked giving the officials that discretion. They understand the difference between the normal emotion. You never want to take the emotion out of the game, and it's such a physical game, and there's that adrenaline. And when a guy makes a big play, there's going to be that kind of emotional response. And I think the officials have been really good at understanding the difference between that emotional response and something that was unsportsmanlike, and something that truly was taunting. This. Again, anytime you emphasize something like this, there's going to be situations where maybe the officials take it too far, but they're getting the direction from the competition committee. They're getting it from the league office, the officiating department, and sometimes it's tough when you keep being told, hey, you got to call this, you got to call this. I think that's ultimately what happened on Marsh. I didn't think it was a penalty. I thought that was something you could have let go. And again, I think we'll see the players as we get closer to the playoffs. I think they'll adjust as they've been doing the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, fair enough. There's been a lot of, in the last at least couple of years, with the pass interference calls. But like with, the Rams and the Saints in, I think, 2018 with that playoff, what do you think they can do a little better to, diagnose the plays and like get the right, call or call out a little sooner? Do you think that'd be something that they could work on or anything like that?
Yeah, I think with pass interference, it's a difficult call because it is subjective and it's there's a lot of elements to it. But I think that that play clearly was pass interference. It wasn't called. Then you end up with a rule change where it made pass interference reviewable, and it didn't work. We kind of saw how when you take something that happens in real time and then you slow it down and you go frame by frame, it just looks different, and it almost became a different standard.
Right.
So I think and they do this. The officiating department, the officials, they work at trying to be as consistent as possible on pass interference. They look at a lot of film. They break it down. The league puts out training tapes. This is pass interference, this isn't, because that's the goal. Can you be consistent on the field? Because those are, they're big penalties when they're called, and they're big misses when they're not called, if it should have been called. And so I think that's something the league continues to work at. But pass interference, just like offensive holding, it's a very subjective call, and it's a difficult call in a lot of situations.
But seems like the same thing that it has with the roughing the passer type of calls. That's kind of gone up recently. I mean, sometimes, like a lot of times, like I'm watching the screen, I'm like, yeah, that does make more sense. Sometimes when they call it, and then other times I'm like, really? Why would they, call that on something like that? But
I find myself sometimes. I think in recent years we've gotten just more strict on roughing the passer. I feel like things that would not have been roughing the passer maybe 6 or 7 years ago are getting called now. The rule really hasn't changed. I think it's just a different philosophy. It's a more strict enforcement. And again, those are 15-yard penalties. Those are big calls, especially if a third down and the defense makes a play, and then you get the roughing the passer call that really isn't roughing the passer, resulting in a first down. So again, that's really the referees. Now the umpires can call that as well, and they work at that to try to be as consistent as possible. But I think this year we've seen some that that really weren't roughing the passer, and that's one that the league has to continue to work at, because I don't think roughing the passer is as difficult as pass interference. There are fewer elements to it, but again, that's something that the league continues to work at, creating greater consistency.
Gotcha.
I wanted to touch on the Bills and Jaguars game earlier this season where, right off the start, there were 3 penalties on 3 plays, and I believe there were 4 or 5 of those that were called on the wrong person. It had to be corrected. Is that just because that officiating crew, once again, I couldn't tell you who it was, is new and relatively needs a little more experience, or is that something with the training with the NFL? I don't know if you know or anything.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like anything else. It's sometimes the crew comes out and they're just not on their game right away, or they have a game that isn't as well officiated as they would have hoped, and that's going to happen from time to time. Just like a team can come out and play poorly for a quarter or a half, and you try to avoid that. I think the officials, one of the things that we tend to forget is there's 155 plays on average in an NFL game, and there's 7 officials, there's 22 players. Every official is making multiple decisions before, during, and after the play, and maybe there's 3 or 4 plays that are incorrect or debatable, and we tend to focus on that, but we lose sight of the fact that the overwhelming majority of decisions are made correctly. And that's just the way it is, and officials understand that. They understand that scrutiny is going to be there. And sometimes the officials themselves will tell you when they're done with the game, they know if they officiated a good game or not. And sometimes maybe there's going to be times when they don't do as well as they want to, and you hope you can mitigate those.
Fair enough. We're gonna jump a little bit off. We're still in the football, but do you, during your free time, do you ever do you guys, do you play fantasy football or anything?
I do. I wasn't, when I was with the NFL in the officiating department, we weren't allowed to play fantasy football.
Yeah.
So now that I left the officiating department and I'm in TV, I do play fantasy football. I enjoy that. I played it when I was younger. And so I enjoy, just like most people, fantasy football and that aspect of it.
I was just wondering.
Actually, we just secured a first round bye in the playoffs. My team is pretty good this year.
All right.
In the league that I play in.
That's very nice. See, I honestly was thinking about that. Is he allowed to do that? Is that? That was what I was thinking.
Yeah, now I am. When you're within the officiating department, and there are rules on officials too in terms of what they can do in terms of going to a casino. They can't go to a sports book. They can't bet on any sports at any point during the season, football or not, because that's such a big, in terms of the integrity, because when you have an impact on the outcome of games, that's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe there was a NFL official who was sentenced to jail for a few years for doing the same thing, and
NBA.
affecting the outcomes of the games.
Yep.
Yeah.
While doing that, yeah. Well, how about we catch up with you, because your work history online is a little lacking, so I'm not sure exactly where you are at the moment, whether you're at Fox or are you still with the XFL, or are you with the NCAA? I'm not sure. So where are you at?
So I'm currently with Fox Sports, and I do rules analysis on the college and NFL broadcasts. and then I work with the NCAA as the national coordinator of instant replay. So I work with all of the replay officials, the different conferences, training, teaching, developing replay officials, and then with the XFL, I did work with the XFL. The XFL is coming back spring 2023, and I don't have any concrete plans right now, but I hope to maybe have some conversations and possibly be involved at some point. And that's currently what I'm doing.
How about the USFL? They reach out to you at all?
Yeah, the USFL, they're going to be on Fox Sports. So again, I'm just kind of seeing what's going to happen there. I've had some conversations, and anything with spring football is, from an officiating perspective, is really important because it gives officials. They always talk about full-time officials, and NFL officials aren't full-time. And I think that's somewhat of a misconception because they do put in a lot of time. But there's only so many football games, right? You only have one game a week, whereas other sports, baseball, basketball, they're playing multiple times a week. And to have spring football leagues is so great for officials because now they can get more snaps. They can work, whether it's USFL or XFL, they can work more games and just get better at what they do. And so I think those leagues are going to be great for the development of officials.
Sure. Besides football, is there any other sports that you enjoy, watch, or anything?
Yeah. Oh, I grew up playing sports. I love sports. That's how I got involved in the NFL. Just wanted to be a part of, as a career. And so I played baseball my whole life. I love baseball, hockey. I'm a big hockey fan. Basketball, so soccer. I love all sports. So I've been, growing up in New York, I'm mostly a New York fan, except for baseball. I'm a Dodgers fan because my dad grew up in Brooklyn, and when the Dodgers moved to LA, he stayed a Dodger fan. So me and my brother were brainwashed as kids.
Well, makes sense.
Excuse me. All right. Well, I mean, outside of officiating, I did want to talk to you about, just football itself, and your opinions on this stuff. Like we're Bills fans, so I mean, in my opinion, the Bills season is finished after that loss on Sunday. I don't know. I think.
I think the Bills. I think, and I get it. I would imagine Bills fans are disappointed with after last year and going into this year what people thought. But for me, it's like you never know with the NFL. You just never know, and there's no team. Like I think in recent weeks, maybe some of the teams have started to separate themselves. The Packers are playing really well. The Patriots, obviously, you would think. I think the Bills, obviously that's being in the AFC East. You think Brady leaves, now it's going to be our division, and the Bills are not playing up to what everybody thought. But it's still right. We got another week to the season this year. Nothing's over yet, so I wouldn't think the Bills season is over. You got another chance to play the Patriots in a couple of weeks, and you just never know in the NFL.
Right. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the Patriots, our one friend Jackson wanted to ask you how you felt about, this is his quote, not mine, how Mac Jones outdueled Josh Allen.
Well,
Which is completely false.
What do you think? Three passes?
3 passes,
Yes.
2 completions for 19.
Outdueling, and I'm sure he's saying that tongue in cheek, but that was such a crazy game because obviously, you look at what New England did with only throwing the ball 3 times. I think the last time the team did that and won was sometime in the 70s. Obviously, the weather and the wind played a big part in that. Again, it was just such an unusual game with the weather, and Patriots were just running the ball. They were successful, and but I think even Coach McDermott talked about the opportunities that they had. They had some turnovers, some other things that they could have done differently. So again, I think the Bills are probably the more talented team, and again, they just haven't really played up to that potential yet this year. And like I said, they're not out of it by any stretch. And so we'll see what happens the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we were at that game, so we saw how the wind was affecting.
I can't imagine being at that game. I would have went. There's no way I would have stayed home, man.
Just wow.
Yeah, looking back on it now, it wasn't worth the
worth
almost
the money.
frostbite on the toes there.
No,
Right?
definitely not.
So
It kind of does roll into my question. I want your opinion. Is Mac Jones legit?
It's so hard to say after, he hasn't even played the full season. I think you look at the situation that he went into with Coach Belichick, and they're going to put him in a position to be successful. He's got the right in terms of approach, and I think at least initially it looks like he's going to be a pretty decent quarterback. But just again, one season or 3/4 of a season is not right. If you look at some quarterbacks that have had a good, I remember RG3 won Rookie of the Year, and then he got injured. It didn't really pan out. There's been other quarterbacks that top picks that haven't panned out. Even going back to like a Ryan Leaf, who was the number 2 overall pick. You just never know, but I think he's showing everything, at least initially, to be successful.
Sure.
And we'll see. Think about Josh Allen, right? Josh Allen took such a big step in his 3rd year last year compared to what he did in the first 2 years. So I think you gotta wait a year or two to see if he's definitely gonna be legit or not.
For sure. But leading also with that, who do you think is like the front runner of the Rookie of the Year? I know there's a lot of talk with Mac Jones, Jamar Chase. I think Micah Parsons, that Cowboys.
Yeah, I think Micah Parsons right now, and I think he could be, he's playing at a defensive player of the year level with what he's done. And, I don't know, I think Jamar, like all those guys you mentioned, they're all playing really well. But Micah Parsons is definitely the one that stands out to me.
Yeah, I got you. Let's see. I got a few more. We're gonna keep it right back to. Actually, you know what? It's all sports. What do you think are some of your favorites or greatest of all times for for a couple sports? I mean, you can do football and what do you think?
Well, my favorite moments of all time.
Yeah, or no, players. Sorry.
Oh, favorite players.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up, a Giants fan. So a lot of my favorite player of all time is Lawrence Taylor. Just watching him and how he changed the game. And he was actually the last rookie to win Defensive Player of the Year. And he was just like a game changer. Barry Sanders was another guy that was so exciting to watch. One of my favorite players. Someone that I was lucky enough to meet that was just so cool and down to earth. And I always, just watching old highlights of him was Walter Payton. And he was just a really nice guy in person. So, those are some of my favorite players. I was young growing up. And more recently, one of the guys who I love now, I love watching him is Deebo Samuel on the 49ers. Just like he's an RB1 and a receiver one, and what he's doing within that offense has been pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I'm good. All right, go ahead.
All right, I got one more for you, and then we'll let you go. All right, game time prediction. Well, not game time. Week 15 prediction. Texans at the Jaguars.
You look at those two teams, and they've had, the Jaguars, they've had so much off the field drama, and surrounding Urban Meyer, and then you look at the Texans with, they've got one of the best quarterbacks in the league just sitting there, not doing nothing. It's just crazy. I'm going to go Texans.
Ooh, wow.
How about a score?
call it 26-21.
All right.
That's not a horrible scoring on that.
We'll post an update next week to see if Dean was right or not.
Yeah.
Dean picks.
All right. Well, Dean, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Quite honestly, I think it was our last episode that we recorded, or maybe the one before that.
It was 2 before.
We were talking about officiating, and I joked around and I said, "Hang on, let me text Dean real quick and get his opinion." I didn't expect you to text us back.
Let me know. Hey, as plays come up, feel free to text me. A lot of people do. And, if you ever have any questions, let me know.
Awesome,
That
man.
sounds
Well,
awesome.
we definitely had a fun time talking to you. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love to come back sometime.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop this real quick. We'll be right back after these short mid-rolls. All right. Oh, I didn't stop it. All right. Yeah, thanks, man.